Okay, so in this video here, we're going to be talking about how to find the equation of the line that is either parallel or perpendicular to another line. Now, before we get into the examples of this video, you have to know a couple of things. The first thing you have to know is that parallel lines are always going to have the same slope. So for example, if you look at what I wrote down here, we have y equals 2x plus 2. Meaning the slope that's going to be parallel to that line is going to be also 2, because my slope here is going to be 2. Because remember, this right here is written in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So my m is going to be my slope. So looking at the line provided, my slope here is going to be 2. Okay, meaning the slope that's going to be parallel to that is also going to be 2, and that's what I have written right here. Okay, now if you look over here, this one says perpendicular lines have slopes that are going to be negative reciprocals. And so that's a fancy way of saying you're going to flip the slope and you're going to change the sign. So for example, if you look at the equation I gave you, we have y equals 3 over 2x plus 5. My slope here is 3 over 2, meaning the perpendicular slope to that line is going to be negative 2 over 3, because again, my slope here is 3 over 2. If I flip that and change the sign, it becomes negative 2 over 3, okay? So you have to know those basics before doing these problems. Once you know that, these problems are pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first problem. So here's the first problem, and it's asking you to find the equation of the line that is parallel to the following line, y equals 3x plus 2, and passes through the point 1 comma negative 5. Now, before we start anything, we need to start labeling our information here. So we know that this equation of the line that we're trying to find passes through the point 1 comma negative 5. So this right here is x comma y. That's a point. Now they're telling you that the equation of this line is going to be parallel to this line here. Okay? So the only thing we need to gather from the line that they provide us is the slope. So my slope here is 3, right? This is my m, my slope. So if we're talking about a parallel line, that means that the slope of that parallel line, right, is also going to be 3. So putting it all together now, I have y equals mx plus b. I'm simply going to fill in my information, solve for b, and then I'll have the equation of the line that is parallel to y equals 3x plus 2. Okay? So what's going to be my y value? Well, that's going to be negative 5. What's my slope? Well, we determined that over here. The slope that's going to be parallel to that following line is going to be 3. So for m, I put in 3. My x is going to be 1. And then I have plus b. Okay? So we're solving for b, and then we can put it all together. So here I'm going to have negative 5 equal to 3 times 1, that is 3, plus b. Here I have to minus 3. And I'm pretty much done. This will cancel. Negative 5 and a negative 3 make a negative 8. So negative 8 equals b, or b equals negative 8. So my final answer will be the following. I'll have y equals my slope. I want to use this one right here, okay? 3x, and then my b, which is right here, minus 8. So this equation right here that we're boxing in is going to be parallel to this equation right here, okay? All right, let's try another example. So here's our next example, and if you notice, the setup is very similar, except now they want to know the equation of the line that is perpendicular, right? And it has to be perpendicular to this line right here, y equals negative 5 over 3x minus 1. So we're going to do exactly the same thing we did before. We're going to label all of our information, and then we're going to go from there. So this right here is going to be x comma y. That's the point that it's passing through, right? The equation of the line that we're trying to find. And now we have to find the slope. Now they're talking about perpendicular. So we want to find the slope of the perpendicular line, meaning I have to take this slope right here, negative 5 over 3, and I have to flip it and change the sign. Okay? So when I do that, it becomes 3 over 5, right? Changing the sign, it becomes positive. So now we go to y equals mx plus b, slope-intercept form, and we plug in all our information. Okay, so here we go. My y value will be 2. My slope, again, we want to use this slope right here. Do not use this slope right here. That would be incorrect. Okay? we're using the slope that we just found, the perpendicular slope. So we're going to use 3 over 5 for m. My x is going to be -1, and then plus b. So let's go ahead and clean this up. I get 2 equal to, when I multiply right here, I get -3 over 5 plus b. Okay, so we're going to have to move this fraction over. We're going to have to add it. When I do that, I get 2 plus 3 over 5. And again, this will be equal to b. So what we want to do here is combine. So this 2 is really over 1 plus 3 over 5. So to get a common denominator here, we're simply going to multiply this fraction, both the numerator and denominator, by 5. Right? So I'm going to multiply here by 5 and also here by 5. Okay? That gives me the following. Now I have 10 over 5, okay, plus 3 over 5. Right? And so now I have a common denominator. I can go ahead and add the numerators. I get 10 plus 3, that will give me 13. So now we have our final value for b. b is going to be equal to 13 over 5. Okay? And now we can plug it all in. So let's write the final equation. We're going to have y equals, use this slope right here, right? Make sure you're not using this one here. We're going to have 3 over 5x plus my b, which is 13 over 5. And there it is. So again, that is going to be the equation of the line that is perpendicular to the line y equals -5 over 3x minus 1. And again, remember, perpendicular lines form 90 degrees. So if you were to graph that, they should be forming 90 degrees where they intersect. Okay, let's try one more example. So here's our last example, and it's a little bit different. It says a line passes through the points 0, 3 and 3, 1. Is the line perpendicular or parallel to the line y equals 3 over 2x minus 2? So what we need to do here is we have to figure out what the slope is between these 2 points. Once we can figure out what that slope is between these 2 points, we can then compare it to this slope right here. And if it's the same, it's going to be parallel, right? And if it's the negative reciprocal, it's going to be perpendicular. So again, in order to do this problem, you have to know the following. You have to know the formula for the slope between 2 points, and that is going to be m equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. And we have 2 points here. This will be x1, y1. This will be x2, y2. Right? And now we can go ahead and plug it in. So my slope is going to be m equal to, my y2 is 1, minus my y1, which is going to be 3. Then I move to my denominator, and I have x2, which is going to be 3, minus my x1, which is going to be 0. So what ends up happening here? 1 minus 3 is -2. 3 minus 0 is 3. So there's the slope. If I compare it to this slope up here, what does that tell me? Well, they're definitely not going to be parallel because they're not the same. This is actually the negative reciprocal of 3 over 2, meaning this line that is passing through these 2 points is going to be perpendicular, okay? So again, the equation of this line is going to be perpendicular to y equals 3 over 2x minus 2. So that is it. That is how you find the equation of the line that is either parallel or perpendicular to another line. It's pretty straightforward, but remember, you do have to determine what that slope is going to be right from the get-go. Once you have that information, then you can go ahead and derive the equation. And again, it is pretty straightforward. You just plug it into slope-intercept form, and you solve for b, and then you put it all together. So if you gained something from this video or it helped you, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you get more math videos in the future, and I'll see you in the next one.